acres. I think it's time for a garden update and show you what we're doing this year in our garden. It's 2014, mid-July, and let me show you what we've got here. I have a bunch of tomatoes this year. Most of them are paste tomatoes, which are good for making sauces and probably tomato paste. And if we get in close here, I'll show you. We've got some tomatoes that are actually on the plants already. We have at least 100 plants this year because the indoor seed starting worked that well. One thing that I wanted to point out to you as well, you want to go through your tomato plants and look in between where the main stalk and a main branch are, and you'll see what we call a sucker growing out of there. You want to pull that out, because then your plant will put its energy into the main branches and up here where you can see blossoms that'll turn into the tomatoes. So obviously this is a huge job if you've got over 100 tomato plants, but if you go out just a little while each day and do a few, then eventually you'll get it done. And this patch here is our green beans. We have 4 double rows, so actually 8 rows. You can hardly tell where the rows are divided there. But these are a bush variety of green beans. These are our bell peppers. Our bell peppers were eaten somewhat by some cutworms this spring, but I think the cutworms are done and the plants are looking nice and full, getting ready to put some blossoms out. The next row is our dry beans. We have some cannellini beans, which are obviously climbers. I put up this string fence for them to climb on, and I'm trying to guide them to that. And then the back part of this row is pinto beans. Now last year I grew the pinto beans, and that's where I got the seeds from. And they were not climbers then, but this year they're sending up climbers, and I'm not sure why that is, but that's what they want to do, I guess. Over here we've got our squash and melon patch. Up front we have spaghetti squash. And then this part of the front is zucchini, which is getting large, and there's actually I think I see a baby zucchini in here, right in there. I imagine we'll get a lot of zucchini from these. There's some more in there. Then in the back, right there, we have watermelon, which isn't doing as well as I expected, but it's still going. And then right here we have butternut squash, which is doing fantastic. It looks like we are starting to get blossoms for those, but the plants are so full and look very nice. This area is our cucumbers, and I planted quite a few in here, but not very many sprouted. It may have been just a bad batch of seeds that I got, but hopefully I'll be able to save seeds from these, so I'll have plenty next year. This right here is a potato patch. We originally planted beet seeds here and nothing happened with those. So we dug some trenches for potatoes, because when you plant potatoes, you want to gradually keep covering the stems of the plants as they grow, and that way you'll get more potatoes out of those. So we planted these, a couple weeks ago or so, and I can see a plant right here. Get that on camera here. Right there. Little potato plant starting to sprout. And then behind the potatoes we have onions, which are doing well. I haven't grown onions before, so that's a first for us. Then the next row is our hot peppers. I planted a bunch of habaneros from seed. I had 2 sprout and only 1 survive, and that's this right here. It looks nice and full. I don't see any blossoms yet, but the plant looks good, so I'm encouraged by that. These next few here are habanero plants that I bought from a greenhouse, and those are starting to put out some blossoms. The next few plants are called a super chili. It's a kind of pepper that's used in Thai cooking, and these are loaded with peppers right now. They'll turn red when they're ripe, but these are doing really well. And then the rest of the row is jalapenos, and those are doing very well too. And last but not least is our corn. We have 4 rows of corn, sweet corn, and it's called, I think, Country Gentleman. So the corn will not grow in rows on the cob. It will be just kind of scattered, so we'll see how that comes out. Now you can probably tell that I went through and weeded last night. Now just like with the tomato plants have suckers on them, you want to check the corn plants for suckers as well. And I'll show you what those look like. This is one of the suckers that we pulled out. And if you look at the main stalk of the corn plant, these are going to grow right out the sides at the bottom of those. So just pull those out and the energy in the plant will go towards the main stalk and put out some better corn, hopefully. I did notice too that I have a couple of volunteer tomato plants growing in among my corn plants. I had tomatoes in this area last year and some of them dropped some tomatoes that we didn't get picked up, so they planted themselves and got a couple of extra tomato plants, so we'll see what those do. Another thing that I have growing in here is lamb's quarters, which is this. Most people see it just as a weed and they pull it out, but this is, another name for this is wild spinach, and it tastes very similar to spinach. It's a very mild, wild edible green. So if you see this in your garden, leave it there and just pull some out now and then to put in your salad. It's pretty good. One other thing I wanted to mention is the lack of weeds that we have this year. That is mainly thanks to the scuffle hoe that I have. And I did a short video on that last year. As you can tell, it's working very, very well and it's very easy to use. This is what it looks like. It's a long handle with a triangle blade on it and it's sharp on each side. So you just push it back and forth like you would like a floor mop. I've gone through about once every 10 days or so and just pushed that around the whole garden and got all the little weeds pulled out of there, and it's working really, really well. There aren't any huge weeds yet that we've had to pull out because I'm staying on top of it with this tool. It's way easier than being on your hands and knees or on a stool pulling weeds. A lot easier on the back, which is a big, big thing for me. My back will get sore if I'm bent over picking stuff too long. So yeah, look up roguehoe.com if you're interested in purchasing one of those tools. I highly recommend it. Alright, I guess that's it for now, and this is what our garden is doing. I'd love to hear about your garden too, and if you have any advice or tips for the rest of us, that'd be great as well. So have a great summer and happy gardening!